This episode is brought to you by the outstanding shows of the You Run Podcast Network. From TV to true crime and everything in between, the network is your home of entertainment. So don't delay. Join in with the fun at yourunpodcast.com today.
I am going to make you the happiest man in 2024 right now.
Why?
Today is
That
the
sounds
last.
a bit creepy, mate.
It is, but it'll become apparent. Today is the last ever opening joke of the You Run podcast.
Ever. Like ever.
Ever. We've done this for coming on to 2.5 years now. And I'll be honest, I think it's run its course. So in 2025, we're going to replace it with something else.
I think it ran its course a lot longer than 2 years ago, but
I do as well. But with that in mind, it's the last time. What do Jesus Christ, Terminator, and our dads all have in common?
I don't know.
They all promise to come back. I'm sorry, that wasn't very good for the last time out. Let me try again. Do you want to hear my really bad Terminator impression?
I would love to.
I'll return.
I don't get it.
Instead of I'll be back.
That's enough.
Oh,
I am fed up
dude.
with the bad jokes, the lack of creativity, and lack of drive you idiots display each week. I am taking over from here on out. My name is Gladys, and here is the intro.
You want to die tonight?
The dad jokes you tell sets the scene. I hang on every word lost in the screen. Your passion for fear is contagious enough. You make me believe in Marc's overblown roundups. You run podcasts or a movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled.
Hello, and welcome back to the all-new Sound You Run podcast, horror movie review. My name is Gladys, and I will be your host as I take you through the movie you have selected this week. As a side note, all interactive features are gone, no more voicemails, you listeners are also idiots. This is my show now. Today we are looking at the 1984.
Wait, what are you doing?
Scott. Don't you dare. No.
That's weird. What's happening?
I just killed Gladys.
About fucking time.
Gladys is gone.
Good. Dad jokes are gone. Gladys is gone. This might be the best episode ever.
Gladys is gone. AI Gladys ads and AI Gladys intros and AI Gladys interfering with me and Marc is now over. We're still going to keep our AI sung intro music unless one of you out there wants to re-record that, and we'll replace that as well. But yeah, it's time for Gladys to take a hike.
What's happened, man? You watched Terminator and got scared and think, shit, I should stop encouraging this.
That's kind of where I am. Anyway, hello and welcome to the You Run podcast horror movie review. My name is Scott. I am the guy who wears homeless pants and all the women want to be in them. My co-host is Marc.
I am Marc.
Do you not wear homeless pants?
I certainly don't wear homeless pants. I have been considered to be as good looking as Arnold Schwarzenegger on various occasions, though.
It's similar physique. I think that's what it is.
It is, yeah. It's a stature, I think.
Yeah, and anyone watching on YouTube or watching on Spotify can confirm that just by looking at your magnificent physique. We are an interactive horror movie review show. You can follow us on all social medias. We're at You Run Podcast. Really easy to find. If you happen to be on Instagram, make sure you give Marc a follow as well. He's at Reviews from the Crypt or at VHS from the Crypt. You can get in touch. You can send us an email, yourunpodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave us a voicemail. And you can do that simply by sending a voice note on Instagram or X. And all you do is it's just in DMs, just hold the microphone button down, speak. When you finish speaking, let go, and we get the message and we play it on the air. Heather has mastered this and has left us some voicemails for later. We pissed Heather off last week a lot. No, it wasn't even last week. Week before last, it was Krampus. Krampus upset Heather, made Heather very angry.
I don't get it.
Well, we'll cover that when we get to it. We are running a competition, and this is the last week to enter. All you need to do is leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. Screenshot that and send it to us. That gets you entered into the draw. If you've already done it, all you need to do is comment on this episode on Spotify. Next week, when we're back in the new year, there's going to be a big, cool, spinny wheel. Everyone's names who's left a review or has commented each and every week will be in there. It's going to stop on one of them, and you're going to win 3 pieces of merchandise from our store. And there is a lot. There's so much stuff on there. There's all of these.
I cannot get that low this week. Oh, there we go.
There's also this t-shirt, which is the Colonel Cockring t-shirt, which is on its way to Mark, but I missed the cutoff to get it to him before Christmas. But he is going to get one in the new year. Again,
I'll wear it with pride.
Again, something else that's been ongoing that I've brought to a close.
I can't believe how tight you've been just to keep that gag going for a whole year, though.
It has been a whole year, near as damn it. This show is interactive. There's lots of interactive features and games. There's none of those on this episode, and that's because it's the last episode of the year. And I'll be honest, we wanted to just give you an episode of just our thoughts. We give you a synopsis of the movie. We tell you what we liked, what we didn't like. It's spoiler heavy. It's not in any particular order. We have some messages this week. We also have a game this week, which is a nice, fun game, and a ton of facts. And then we give you some scores and our final thoughts on the movie. Gladys wasn't completely lying about some changes. There are going to be some changes in the new year. They're little tweaks. I've taken a lot of feedback from people over the last 12 months, and every feedback I get, I think about it, I talk about it with Mark, and there's some small tweaks coming, but they're tiny. It's just things to tighten things up a bit and make it a little bit more fun. Today, we are taking you on a journey through time. A cybernetic killing machine sent back from 2029 to the early 80s to hunt and kill the mother of John Connor, the leader of the future resistance. Knowing his mother and his own existence are in risk of being lost forever, John sends his best friend Carl Reese back to protect his mum from a very buff and sometimes naked Arnold Schwarzenegger. Oh, and to raw dog his mum as well, so he can actually come into existence. But we will talk about that later. Today we try and find the answers to many burning questions. Is that actually Arnold Schwarzenegger's dick? Did I remember? Did I misremember there being an incredibly long sex scene in this that is cut from almost every version? Why does the stop motion look so bad now? And of course, I've gone blank. My memory's gone blank. I can't remember what I was going to say.
You was on such a good roll then. You had such an awesome monologue going and you blew it at the last moment.
I had a witty comment about Gladys and it's left me. Yeah, the final question, how can this show be better now Gladys is gone? God, that was hard work.
Seamless, mate. Well done.
I thought so. We don't edit anymore, so shit. You get what you get. It arguably James Cameron's greatest contribution to cinema. It's our pleasure to bring you our final episode of 2024, The Terminator.
Love it.
And that's
Absolutely
again,
love it.
The soundtrack to this movie is so fucking good.
I don't know why, but for me, if I'm going to watch a Terminator movie, I'm going to watch the best Terminator movie. So I watch Judgment Day. That's what I go to every single time, if ever I'm in the mood for these types of movies. So I've seen Terminator. I've watched it a lot growing up, but it's not one that I've seen in maybe 15, 20 years probably. And then to hear that in the opening credits, I was like, I'm sure that was a Judgment Day specific score. I was blown away to hear it in the first one. I was like, oh shit, I didn't realize that's where it was from.
Yeah, and this movie is often debated whether it's a horror movie or not. Anyone who says it's not a horror movie, you're fucking insane. This is a slasher movie.
Yeah, and I watched Terminator 2 straight after this, and that one is even more of a horror movie than this one is. I don't care what anybody says. A T-1000 in Terminator 2 is fucking mental.
And I agree, which is a good way for us to tee it up that I'm sure Terminator 2 is going to appear at some point.
Well, this is kind of why I'm leaning into that, so we can get it on the show. If I justify it now.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think there's an element of horror in all of the Terminator movies. I think there's enough in there that you could. I'm not being funny. We've covered some stuff that we covered Twilight and Twilight 2.
And Predator.
Fuck off. Predator is a horror movie. This movie starts in 2029. I love like the scenes of that like wasteland with the rolling tracks crushing. Why do they always crush skulls in James Cameron movies? Every single James Cameron movie has a skull crush.
And another thing, I was surprised that this was a James Cameron movie. I didn't realize he created the first Terminator film. I thought he'd done with the Terminator franchise what he did with Ridley Scott's Alien, which was come in and make a fucking badass sequel and show up the original director. I completely forgot that James Cameron and Galen Hurd were the involvement of the first Terminator movie. Like, it is their baby. Which is wild to think, why did he then leave after Terminator 2? Because he would created such an awesome, at that point, 1 and 2. Why did he leave at part 3? Because it fucking bombed downhill so much after that.
The thing is that James Cameron is so good at picking movies to do. Like, look through his back catalogue, everything he does turns to gold. Even like the latest Avatar movie, he dropped so much money to make that movie that he had to break $2 billion just to break even. And he fucking smashed it and made a load of profit. There's not another director that can do that.
The thing is about him, though, he is such a great filmmaker. I'm just annoyed that he's focusing so much of the later years of his life on this fucking stupid Avatar franchise. I watched the first one. It was cool. It was gimmicky with the whole 3D thing when it came out in cinema. But waiting 10 years for a sequel, man, I'm just over it. I was over it like 3 years after the first one came out, you know?
Yeah,
he's
to be
dedicated
fair,
all like the last 40 years of his life to giving us like 5 Avatar movies.
Yeah, I think he needs to just take a step back and go and do Titanic 2, all about the submersible. Tell that story.
Imagine how many movies he could churn out, though, if he just stepped away from something like Avatar, you know, and goes back to his roots. Because wasn't he involved in one of the later sequels of this? The one where, what's her name? Sarah Connor comes back, the original Sarah. I can't remember her name.
Yeah.
Linda Hamilton, didn't she come back?
I think he was a producer on one of those. I think.
For some reason, I was under the illusion he came back for that one.
See, I love what he's done with this, like the whole feel, the whole aesthetic. The opening segment of this, I think, is great. You get that bit in 2029, and then we get Arnie's arrival, and the guy in the dump truck or the rubbish truck is hilarious. The fact he sees all the like fucking Chucky lightning, and he literally just gets out of his truck and goes, "Fuck this, I'm gone." Like no hesitation.
I don't blame him for that in the slightest.
No.
Let's talk about Arnie's pipe, because I remember watching this back in the day before we had glorious 4K and Blu-ray, and it was never as apparent as what it is now on my TV, and I was shocked.
It's
Daddy, chill.
It's a weapon like that. He needs a license. He needs a license to carry it. We spoke about this when we done X and how well endowed Kid Cudi is. Him and Arnie could literally have a sword fight. They're that big.
Yeah, it's wild. Like, I felt very insecure after seeing this scene. I was like, holy shit, is that how it's supposed to look?
Yeah, and all the years I thought steroids shrunk it. Clearly they do not.
No. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a steroid enhanced penis.
A steroid enhanced cock. After we get the magnificent Arnie and his nakedness, I love the confrontation he has with the gang. Should we call them the gang?
Yeah, well, Bill Paxton as well. Great scene with him. Again, like littered throughout this movie is just everyone from Alien 2.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Because I know, as I said earlier about James Cameron and Gale Anne Hurd and stuff. I did actually watch the making of Alien 2. Do you know what's that program on Netflix? So like basically how it's made, but it's a movie one.
Yeah, the movies that made us.
Yeah, and there was an Aliens 2 one, and James Cameron had a really bad time of getting involved in the production on Aliens 2, and all the cast and crew from Ridley Scott's
Hated him.
first movie, they hated him. And then he just done the first Terminator movie, and he's like,
Yeah.
did a big screening in this cinema, and he's like, oh, I invited all the guys from the Alien movie to come down and watch it so I could showcase what I'm going to do with Aliens and show the potential I had as a creator. No one turned up. No one went to watch his movie.
Yeah, the thing is, he's got a bit of a reputation. We'll talk about it in facts, but he's quite notoriously difficult to work with. He's a bit of a cock on set, from what I can gather.
Yeah, they were saying on that how they made it thing, like loads of the art directors and stuff like that, like had a big fallout with him and all walked off set and stuff like that. Disputes
Yeah.
over making the Alien Queen and things like that in that movie.
Yeah, I think he's one of these people that's very driven by a vision, and if you're
Yeah.
not on board with that vision, you're going to be a problem.
And I think that's a great quality to have in a director, though. You know, the passion needs to be there, and his credentials as a director and the movies he's got showcases that sort of, you need to have that drive and that passion in order to execute your vision. I mean, this is what we was talking about with Terrifier 3 with Damien Leone and how he's compromised himself a little bit, if you will.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get that with James Cameron, you know. He would just be like, fuck you guys.
Yeah, I think he definitely would, and he's at the level now where he can do that as well, because look at the money he's made on the movies he's made. No studio is going to argue with him. It's just as simple as that. Like, if they do argue with him, be like, okay, fine, I'll go and work with another studio. Thanks.
Yeah. Was him and Gale Anne Hurd a thing during the making of this?
I get the feeling they were. I don't know
because I know
enough,
he went
though,
out with like Sarah Connor as well at one point. They were in a relationship together. It was weird. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know the drama behind the scenes, but yeah, there must be some story there.
It was the 80s. He was probably banging everyone.
Yeah, hotshot new on the scene director.
Yeah, exactly that. Not hotshot character, Kyle Reese. His sort of arrival into this, where he lands in the fetal position, instantly I'm like, oh, dude, like, you've had a rough arrival. And does he kill the homeless man to take his trousers?
No, because the police come up afterwards and the homeless man's there like, he stole my pants. But I love his arrival, and I love the build-up of his arrival from that point, the way that the two play out against each other, him and Arnie. Arnie's smooth as shit landing, sat there in the David pose or whatever it is, and then Michael Biehn just falls to the floor in absolute agony, like, shit, like that was the most painful thing he's ever experienced. And then how he's transitioning from that and getting the clothes, and you can see how cool and smooth Arnie is doing it, and then Michael Bihn's robbing homeless men, getting chased by the police. It's a very clumsy arrival for him, and that's one of my favorite scenes of this entire movie, actually, is that opening 30 minutes where you see the two of them contrastingly trying to navigate what they're doing.
Yeah, and this was the first movie I watched this young, like really young, and this is the first movie when I genuinely realized what a sawn-off shotgun is. I was like, oh, yeah, it's a shotgun. You've literally sawn the end off. Like, I was, as a kid, I was like,
yeah,
fuck, that's amazing.
Except in this movie, they do it the wrong way around. A sawn-off shotgun is where they shoot off, because a lot of standard shotguns, like 3 feet long on the barrel, and then a sawn-off is they file the barrel down. But in here, he just files off the armrest thing, so he can, the base, so he can add it. But an actual sawn-off is condensing the barrel, and that way you get a more spread explosion as it comes out. And that's why it's illegal and dangerous, because of the projection of it.
It turns out today is the day I found out what a sawn-off shotgun is, not when I watched this movie.
They condense the barrel, so that way when the bullets come out, it spreads more, which makes it more dangerous in certain situations, which is why they are illegal.
I feel incredibly stupid. Yeah, I
That's
feel
why
very
bank robbers
stupid
use them,
then.
because I haven't got great aim. So they need short shotguns to keep them hidden, but also then they have more freedom to take out a wider range with shotguns. I go shooting quite a lot, not like animals. I'm not that kind of shooter. I go clay pigeon shooting.
People.
We have like, yeah, we have a clay pigeon shooting place near us. So you learn all that stuff there with regular shooters who are big into it. But no, I've never killed anything. I've never shot anything alive. I don't think I'd be able to sleep for weeks if I did. But I do enjoy going and shooting the clay pigeons. That's a lot of fun.
Wow, I learned something new today. That's every day's a school
there you
day.
go.
The story of this is great. So like, I'm not going to tell everyone how to suck eggs. The story is he sent back in time to kill Sarah Connor. The fact that he has no access to any information and there's no internet in this time, the going to the phone box and just looking up Sarah Connor and systematically working through each one is not only brilliant, because we used to have phone books in phone boxes, that used to be a thing, but it's also written very robotically, because that's exactly what a robot would do. Start at the top
It's
of the list.
also the most bullshit thing in this movie as well. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why they are being sent back from the future? They know where this woman is in this exact moment in time. Why do they then have to go and do this Renaissance mission to find her? It's like, fuck you guys, man. You've come from the future. You know exactly where she is and how this is played out. You should know her name, her address, her age, her family members, where she's living, where she's working. You shouldn't just have to be like, I'm going to go back and find Sarah Connor. Blip. Oh shit, who's Sarah Connor?
But the thing is, like, how much of that was destroyed? How much of the information was destroyed during the initial war between humans and robots? How much of that knowledge has been lost? How much of that knowledge is only held by, for example, John Connor?
But the thing is, as well, like, this is where this movie gives me such a fucking headache, and the sequel does it even more, which I will dive into a little bit on this episode later on. But like, everything is supposed to happen by purpose. So Kyle Reese has to come back. He's John Connor's dad.
Yeah.
John Connor knows he's his dad because he explains that in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. He's like, oh yeah, I'll be meeting my father soon in like 30 years' time. It's mad to think that he hasn't even been born yet. So John Connor sends him back, knowing that he has to send him back in order for him to be born. So it's like, it just gives me a headache, man. It's like, so what? So like, would this even be a thing if like John just didn't send him back? Would he just cease to exist in that future timeline?
Yeah,
how does it work?
I don't know. And also the point of where you've become friends with someone, not telling them that they're your dad, knowing full well at some point you need to send them back in time to bang your mum, is a really hard thing to live with. Like looking at him on the battlefield going, he's my dad, he's going to bang my mum, and I need to facilitate that happening. That's a weird vibe to carry with you all the time.
Yeah, but like he also then as well, Kyle Reese has got this photo of her that John gave him that he idolizes and stares at and is in love with her. And it's like, does he know that his mission is to go back and bang her in order to create John? Like,
see, I don't know if he told him.
Playing.
Well, I don't know if he told him, like, look, you need to bang my mum, so like be extra seductive, or if it was just the fact that Sarah Connor is the most thirsty girl for a man in dirty homeless underwear. Like like they have the first bit where she thinks it's him that's following her. So a couple of Sarah Connors have been killed, and she thinks that this weird homeless guy is following her. But it doesn't take her long at all to be like,
because I'm a dirty girl.
Like she is fully into him quite quickly. And it all kind of comes about on the back of the club scene. And Tech Noir is one of the best shot scenes in all of cinema.
Yeah, and again, Tech Noir, awesome song written by a band called Gunship, which John Carpenter reads the opening segment to that song. And the opening segment that he reads is the opening monologue from the movie Terminator. And I did not know that until I watched this film, and it fucking blew my mind. I was like, I have loved that song for about 5 or 6 years, listen to it all the time. Opening credits of this movie, I'm like, I'm sure I know those words from somewhere. They go to the club, it's called Tech Noir. I'm like, there you go. They've based their entire song around the movie Terminator. And how have I not known this?
Yeah, and it's awesome. So this scene where the Terminator comes in and he's looking for Sarah Connor because she's sort of seen all these things unfolding on the news, and she's rung the police are looking for the next Sarah Connor now, and she's contacted the police, and then she's hiding in the club. The scene where he walks through and she knocks a bottle off of the table, and she bends down to pick the bottle up just as he turns, like brilliant.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. And the shootout as well. This is the first time that it really shows you how
Who's who and what
strong.
the purpose is.
Yeah, so like Carl Reese unloads the shotgun multiple times. It does nothing.
No, knocks him through a door, but he soon gets back up and comes in guns blazing again.
Yeah,
But again, like at this point, I mean, we know Terminator, we know the laws of these movies, and that's one thing that pisses me off about Terminator 2, because the build up, actually, I've just rewatched it, the build up to that introduction of where they meet John in that corridor, the back of the corridor, the arcade system. You
yeah,
don't know who's who until that point. And the movie does such a good job of keeping you as a surprise. But because I've always known that the Terminator is a good guy in Terminator 2, I just want to know when people went to watch this in the cinema back in the 90s, did
yeah.
they know?
Early
Was it
90s.
advertised as Arnie was a
I
good guy in the sequel?
I don't think it was, and I think that was an oh fuck moment when people
That would have
watched it.
blown my mind, man. To be in the cinema, I would have been throwing popcorn at screen. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, even just watching it on a rewatch, I was like, that is incredible. But again, they do the same thing in Terminator 1. You don't know that Kyle Reese is sort of the protector. You don't know that he's there to look after her. You just know that these two people have arrived. And up until this point, we've seen Arnie kill a couple of Sarah Connors as he's going in order through the phone book, which is really cool because that sort of alerts her as shit, I'm next.
Yeah,
And she's seeing it happen on the news frequently. And she's like, fuck. So that's when she calls the police in the club. She's like, I'm the Sarah Connor that's next in line in the phone book. You need to come and get me. And that's when they both turn up at the club to get her. Which is
yeah,
awesome, awesome setup.
and they make good choices in this as well. So like Sarah Connor making the choice to call the police is a good decision. Like she's not going, oh, I'm going to go on the run. It's fuck, I need to get somewhere where I can get to a phone and call the police. And she does. She even pays to get into a club just to get to a phone, which is what sets all
Yeah.
of this up. The writing for this is impeccable. Like
Yeah.
it's very difficult to pick any holes in the narrative of the story. It's so well crafted. A little bit like her mullet.
Her mullet's very cool. The mullet I do have issue with, though, is Arnie's mullet. Like, he has his signature floppy Arnie hairstyle at the start of the movie. And then as they leave the club and they have that shootout and Kyle blows that car up, it's supposed to signify that Arnie's hair is being singed. He loses his eyebrows and he ends up with a mullet cut, which is
Yeah,
something I didn't pick up on until this watch. I just always thought there must have been some weird thing where he'd gone off and done another movie and had a different haircut and then come back and picked up on Terminator. No, it's to signify that his hair is being singed in the explosion. Looks
yeah.
fucking stupid, man. It looks terrible.
It does, and I've got some facts around his eyebrows that made me laugh so much when I found them. So much. Like there's
cool.
a whole story behind the eyebrows coming off because it's not makeup effects. The eyebrows came off.
Wow, wow. He just looks ridiculous, though. He looks so plastic from that point on. And I'm like, that's weird, man. I don't like what they've done with his eyebrows or his haircut.
The thing is, though, by doing that, he does for the second part of the movie look more like a machine than he did at the beginning. So it actually works.
It does in that sense, yeah, but it's just like he looked a lot cooler before he got the weird haircut.
He did.
Because
I
like it
love.
doesn't, it's not like melted. If they'd have like made it more plasticky melted, and I know it's
Yeah,
original hair, but hair does melt like plastic when you burn it. So like if they'd have done that, but it just looks like he's come out of the fire with a fresh haircut, and
yeah,
I
he
don't get
has. Vidal Sassoon was in the flames. In done.
it. Yeah,
You're
because
perfect.
it's not uneven or anything like that. It's a very uniformed haircut, and that's what makes me laugh about it. It's like that doesn't look like burn damage. It looks like he's just come out of the barber's. What's going on?
Yeah, I love the car chase in this as well, where Arnie chases after them, like, and he
Yeah,
kills the cop and he takes the cop car. Like this chase through the LA streets, I think, is one of the best looking car chases ever.
yeah,
And the fact that they cause him to crash and there's a big explosion. There's lots of sort of fake deaths for the Terminator in this. Like at this point, first time watch, you'd be like, oh, he's dead. And it's just when he just kind of casually strolls out and you're like, okay, then.
They do a good job of setting up Kyle Reese explaining that he is unstoppable. Nothing can stop him. And even Sarah's saying to him, like, well, can you? And he's like, I actually don't know. Like, I've been sent back to protect you, but I don't know if I'm equipped for this job.
Yeah, he basically says,
it can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear. And it absolutely will not stop, ever, until you are dead.
Yeah, and it doesn't.
No, it genuinely doesn't. This is where the police arrive. So Arnie gets out, and Arnie's disappeared from this crashed car, and the police arrive, and they arrest Kyle Reese. He's going to shoot them as well. He's like cocking the gun. It's Sarah Connor's like, no,
you will die.
You will die for that. I love the detective who's smoking all the time. I don't know if you picked up on it because neither of us are smokers anymore, but we used to be. He's got a lit cigarette and he asks for a cigarette.
Yeah, I did like that. He's so like dumbfounded by the situation of this new alphabet killer. He's like, I need a cigarette. The guy hands him a pack of cigarettes and he realizes he's already got one in his hands.
I laughed a lot. And I love the way that he handles Sarah as well. He's like, look, don't worry, you're going to be safe here. There's 30 cops here. This is the worst portrayal of mental health care in any movie ever.
I don't know, man. Judgment Day does a lot better.
So the
psychiatrist Sarah Connor in the psych ward in part 2 is fucking horrific, man.
It's the same doctor as well, so it kind of tracks.
It is, which I didn't pick up on as well, because he's really nice in this movie to a certain degree. He's like really empathetic with her and understanding.
Yeah, but he's a bad psychiatrist. She's like, is he mental? He's like, that's not a term we like to use. But yes, he's fucking nuts. And you're like, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but again, on the same thing though, like that brings into question part 2 because he's like, Sarah, this didn't happen. None of this happened. I'm like, dude, you were there. You were there at the police station when that shit.
No, he wasn't. He left the police station before Arnie arrived.
Are you sure? Does it?
I'm 100% positive. He's like, right, well, I'm going to go now, and he leaves before Arnie gets there. So he missed all of that segment because I thought that, and then I checked it, but no, he departs before Arnie shot it all up. So when he's in Terminator 2, he's like, well, either Sarah done it or Kyle Reese done it, or they done it together. Because as far as he's concerned, they were the only ones there.
Yeah, which again makes more sense. And if the movie showcases that, then fair enough. But I was watching it, I must have missed that scene because then I watched Terminator 2. I was like, dude, why are you being so harsh? You were literally there in the police station. You saw everybody die by this fucking tank of a man.
No, it's like a throwaway line. Like after they've shown Kyle Reese, the video of Kyle Reese, and he's like, yeah, he's nuts. It's like as they're taking Sarah to put her in that back room and tell her there's 30 cops here, you're fine. As they're doing that, he's like, right, well, I'm going. Bye. See you later. Give me a shout if you need me.
I'll let him off then. I'll let him off in that instance.
Arnie arriving going, I'm here to see Sarah Connor. And they're like, you need to take a seat and wait. And then he just plows a truck through
this is the first use of the line, I'll be back.
It is. It's the first time. It's also the only continuity error I spotted in the whole movie.
In which way?
So he drives the truck towards the police desk, and you see inside the police station at the police desk, and it's lit up by headlights. When it cuts back to the truck, the headlights are off. He hasn't got his headlights on when he drives in.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I didn't pick up on that at all.
I spotted it because I was like, oh, wow, like the lights are coming in, and then it went straight to the truck. I was like, the lights are off. Has he got a torch? Like, shine it in he massacres everybody.
Yeah. Oh, man, he plays by his namesake. You know, he is a Terminator, and he fucking terminates in this police thing.
And it's so cool as well. And I love the fact that you got some cops are like arming up, and like you get 3 or 4 of them that he takes out who are all trying to fight back. And there's one bit where there's just this, he's quite a small policeman. He sort of runs down the corridor almost with his arms in the head, like going, help me. And he gets gunned down from behind. But Carl Reese saves Sarah, and they.
I like that scene as well where Carl does save her because he's breaking through the door, and you think it's Arnie. And I think they do a good job of setting up the tension in that scene where she's hiding behind the desk, and you think, "Shit, she's fucked. This is it. He's gonna get her." And then it comes through, and it's Michael Biehn. I thought that was really, really cool setup.
Yeah, and they escape, and the Terminator's now sort of got no leads, and they go and find the scummiest motel in the whole of LA to stay in. They get in the room and they start making pipe bombs, and he's explaining more about what the Terminator's about and what the future's like. And Sarah Connor's literally
I have the best pussy. You would never believe how good it is. I don't know. Sometimes I'm a little loose. I just really want to drop my panties right now.
Yeah, baby, let me ride that. Oh, yeah.
First time. Let me enjoy it. God damn it.
That's what happens when you don't get laid for like a really long time.
Where on earth did you get those sound bites from?
Probably best I don't share that. But
yeah, I think it maybe is.
I've got to ask, at what point is a guy wearing homeless man's pants that must be piss stained, shit stained, dirty, filthy, stinking? At what point does a woman go, "That's a bit of me, that I like that"?
I don't know, dude, man. Michael Biehn is shredded in this movie.
100% he is, but he is wearing like, can you imagine the stink coming off of those trousers? They've been in tight confines together. Like, do you want to like have unprotected sex with a man in like homeless man's trousers?
And weirdly enough, even though the sex scene's going on, which is very raunchy, by the way, Linda Hamilton is very naked, and I should be focusing on that. I focused on the score during this scene because it's a standard Terminator theme, the bum, 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 bum. Yeah, it's that, but it's like stripped back into like an acoustic version, and it's all romanticized. It was fucking beautiful, man. I was like, wow, that is amazing. I love that score.
It's a really long,
coinciding with a very cool scene.
It's a very long scene as well. Like, there's lots of cuts of this, and like the TV cut and a lot of the early VHS cuts didn't have this in it. But if you stream it anywhere now, it's got the full, like, 3.5 minutes of.
I watched the very raunchy 3.5 minutes.
I did as well. Do you reckon he went to that beat, sort of?
I don't know. But I'm going to try that and see if it's any good.
Are you going to increase in intensity like the music though?
I am going to, yeah.
It starts off, and all of a sudden you're like, bang, 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 bang.
I will report back my findings.
Yes, can you report that back in the new year, please? This all leads to sort of the kind of ends up with the final showdown. And I have some issues here. So it ends up with Arnie getting sort of crushed by a truck, and then he sort of chases them into this factory warehouse.
It's the truck scene before that I have issues with. So let's just talk about that for a brief moment, because they get where they are, and then there's this long chase sequence where Arnie's driving like this big articulated lorry trying to run Sarah Connor over. And she's running for fucking ages, like absolutely ages. Michael Biehn throws this grenade bomb in the exhaust and then hides in a dumpster. But then the scene goes on for like another 40 seconds of them chasing. So bear in mind, if you take into account the distance that truck's traveled and how far Sarah Connor's ran, he's right on her ass when the truck explodes. Sarah Connor's absolutely fine, but Michael Biehn, who's like 2 miles down the road in a bin, is on fire. And I'm like, the science isn't adding up here in this chase sequence.
No, it's not. And Michael Biehn is literally like hanging out the bin going,
"Run for cover, you dirty slut!"
It's been a very sexual episode. I didn't predict that when I put this episode together.
No, it's not where we usually go to with the Terminator, I'll be honest with you.
The big explosion obviously strips all of the clothes, all of the skin off of Arnie, and we end up with the T-800, which we don't know it's the T-800 until Terminator 2 when they explain more narrative there. The exoskeleton's cool. All of the close-up shots of the hands and the head and the legs, like all of those individual shots are flawless. Even now, they look perfect.
Yeah,
They
those
stop.
cutaway scenes where you just see him from like the top half, and it's like puppetry and animatronics, and they can cut out the people actually doing the physical puppetry for it. Flawless. But yeah, I know
Yeah.
where you're going with this.
The stop motion animation in this is so dated. At the time, it was very good, and I'll give it credit for that. But looking at it now, I'm like, oh my God, is fucking Wallace and Gromit about to rock on next to him?
Yeah, it's like the skeletons from Jason and the Argonauts. So I think it looks cool. I love it. I like it. I like that style of stop motion animation. So I wasn't pissed off to see it. But I think in comparison, you're right. You notice the difference between those close up shots and those wide ranging shots of the T800. You see, it's very, very contrasting to see the two side by side. And at the time, I'm sure they looked okay enough with the visual quality of filmmaking. But when you go back and watch a movie like this in 4K, not only do they highlight the length of Arnold Schwarzenegger's penis, but they focus in a lot on stuff like this, and it's hard not to focus on the two when you see them side by side like this. And I didn't mind it, but I knew it was going to be a topic of conversation here on this episode, and I was like, do I criticize it or do I embrace it? And I'm like, I didn't mind it, man. I don't think it was that bad.
I don't hate it. And I know when I watched this as a kid, this was like, oh my God, that's so cool. But looking at it now, it's like, it's dated. And I'm not angry at it, but
no,
it doesn't look as
good. It's a
good.
product of its time, isn't it? You know, you can't be mad at something. If this was a new release coming out in 2024, yeah, we'd be like, this is fucking stupid. But for the time, it was high-end stuff, you know? It looked fantastic, I'm sure, in the cinema when you watched this in the 90s.
Yeah, after all the effort Carl Reese puts in, just dies. Like
He goes through some injuries though. He's got shot in the stomach, so like Sarah's, pull yourself up, stand up, soldier, which was cringe, man. Cringe as hell. I felt it inside when the scene happened. I was like, no, not feeling this. This is weird. It was nice to see the turn in Sarah Connor becoming less of a sort of, ooh, I'm a woman, I'm in this terrible situation, and she starts to sort of find her own coming as a strong final girl. But the conversation where she sort of switches and it's like, Lieutenant, stand yourself up, soldier. I was like, I don't know if that's landing as intended.
She has a couple of cringe lines in this. After Kyle dies, and you've got like the half Terminator chasing her. The cringiest line. It was cool at the time, but looking back at it now, she drops the big plunger down and squashes the Terminator, and his red eye goes out, and she's like, "You're terminated, motherfucker." I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. But again, and this is what brings me to my next confusing point that I'm going to tie into Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and I'm hoping you can expand on this because I was watching T2 today as preparation. So, the end of this movie, the Terminator's arm sticking through the grill. The thing comes down, crushes him, Terminator's dead, that's the end, right?
Yeah.
T2 picks up, and we meet Max Dyson. I think his name's Max Dyson.
Yeah.
The fella whose house they go to, and Arnie strips his skin off, and he's like, blah,
yeah.
Awesome scene. But Max Dyson is a dude who created Skynet. But he only created Skynet because he has the arm and the chip from the Terminator, from Terminator 1, in order to fund his research. You know, he has that insight.
Yeah.
So, like, Terminator 1 has to happen for Terminator 2 to happen, for him to create Skynet.
Yeah, for Terminator 1 to happen.
Where is the loop ending in order to tie all this together? It's like everything has to synchronize in place. It's like it gets to a point where it's like, but if there wasn't any, I just don't get it, man. I don't get it. I would be able to swallow the pill a little bit more. Maybe it does do it in Terminator 2, where they're like, the events of Terminator 1 sped up the timeline because he found the remnants of the first Terminator, so therefore things progressed a lot faster.
I think that's what happened.
Maybe it does. I haven't got to that scene in Terminator 2 yet. I only watched half of it this morning. I haven't got to that scene where they go to Max Dyson's house.
Yeah. See,
he explains it there.
I'm sure they were already working on it, and then the discovery of this futuristic robotic arm and a chip that has everything he's been trying to create, like ready gift wrap for him, just made that process go.
Accelerated the process and then brought the events of the nuclear war forward 30 years instead of it happening
Yeah.
Because it stays at Terminator 2, I think it's 2029. August 2029 is when the nuclear war happened. But I think maybe in the first one, they do say it's a lot later. So maybe that is what happens in T2. It is escalated by the findings of what is in this factory in T1. I don't know. I should have really got to the end of T2 before I brought this up in conversation.
Maybe. But yeah, I think that is the case. Shall we take a break?
Yeah, before I give myself an aneurysm trying to talk about time travel.
Also, we've killed Gladys, so...
Oh, you gotta give them that hot tour and spit on that thing. You get me? Oh, this is so funny.
It is so funny. Make sure you go to yourunpodcast.com. Go and check out all the other You Run Podcast Network members. There are so many people there. We've got every show you could possibly think of. We've got conspiracy theories. We've got true crime. We've got horror movie reviews, other movie reviews, TV series reviews, deep dives into horror, deep dives into filmmaking. There's literally something for everyone. There's also our shop. There's also links to all of our social media. So go to yourunpodcast.com and check out all of those other great creators. Also, on our Krampus episode, you upset Heather.
I'm just myself, man. I don't intentionally set out to upset or hurt anybody.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
That was me already outlining my apology before we get into it.
Well, let's go with Heather's first message.
So I didn't get to leave a voice note for the episode so that you could play my lovely messages on the episode of Krampus today, but you guys are literally pissing me off because it's like you can't find joy in anything. You guys are still bringing up Warwick Davis, also taking a dump on Krampus, and it's like, yeah, it's not a fucking cinematic masterpiece, but it's a fun movie. Put it on during the holidays, just kind of put it on for background noise. It's fun. You two are getting way too critiquey. That's not a word. I just made it a fucking word. You guys are nitpicking everything. You're driving me insane. Can a movie just be okay, but like to some people it's really good? Like, yeah, it's not the best movie. Stop ruining Christmas for me. I'm out of breath already. All I did was walk down the hallway. Anyways, I'm going to continue listening, but y'all better stop. And I'm not from fucking Texas, and I don't like that song or Beyonce. She's nasty. Bye.
Right. There's a lot to digest there. First of all, this is a podcast. We talk about horror movies. It's kind of our job to break it down and talk about the things we like and the things we don't like. If we came on here and was like, it's an okay movie, some people will like it, some people won't, it kind of falters as an episode. However, we do break it down. We do talk about the good, the bad, and everything in between. But if you listen to the Krampus episode and get to the end, you will know that we both turned around and said, it's shit, but it was enjoyable for what it is.
Exactly that. And I kind of said that in the chat to Heather, and she messaged again shortly afterwards.
To be fair, maybe that message was a little aggressive.
You think?
Because I'm not to the end where you scored yet. But I just know how y'all are, and y'all be just so hard on movies. Y'all are harder than a dick on Christmas on these movies. So, you know, sometimes I don't know. And sometimes I get ahead of myself. I'm very hormonal right now, and I had a rough night. I didn't sleep. I haven't slept maybe like 3 hours. So I'm really tired. I'm not really that sorry, but I'll be partly apologetic if I was being too rude, but also, you know me. Okay, I'm going to finish listening. Happy Monday.
When's Heather's baby due?
February.
Shit, man. We've got another 2 months of increasing anger coming from Heather the next couple of months.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, the further into her pregnancy she goes, the more angrily she gets. And I know she's having a hard time with it. And Heather, I'm sending all my best to you. I wish you nothing but love. But yeah, man, this pregnancy is fucking doing her over.
Yeah, and Heather is having a rough run. She's carrying the weight of another human being literally with her all the time. But But we love you, Heather. We wouldn't want you to change.
We love you. You're very special.
But in the same time, we're also ready for this baby to come out. And if things get any nastier, I'm getting on a plane and taking it out myself.
You have delivered a baby before. It can be done.
I have. I'm qualified.
Let's do some facts. So there are so many facts for this movie that I've really struggled to condense it down. This is one of the most fact-laden movies of all time. Like if you type into Google like 10 things you don't know about Terminator, it brings up articles with like 1,000 things you didn't know about Terminator. It's like
amazing.
That. Yeah.
So these are more credible than your Gary Busey one from the Ginger Dead Man 2.
Yes.
Okay.
Arnold Schwarzenegger worked with guns for months in the lead up to this film. And he'd done this because he wanted all of his actions to look like they were effortless. He wanted it to seem like he was a machine programmed to use a gun. He'd done such a good job that the magazine Soldier of Fortune, which is a weapons magazine in the United States, praised his realistic handling of weapons. Every other movie that has ever been released like this, they've tore it apart, saying these people don't know how to handle guns. This isn't how you handle guns. But Arnie, they were like, yeah, perfect.
Yeah. I mean, the recoil alone from some of these weapons he's using, and he doesn't flinch. You know, that takes training to be able to handle a weapon like that. The same way when you watch a John Wick movie, you see, I don't know if you've seen some like the behind the scenes footage of Keanu Reeves training. That dude is fucking incredible with a gun. Like he is actually John Wick in real life. He's put that much effort into perfecting the role.
Yeah, and like Arnie done the same, and like that, like when you watch him like reload and like check the weapons, like when he's in the gun shop and he's checking all the weapons, like that is like flawless. He's like cocks it, takes it apart, puts it back down, goes that one, does the same with the next one. He does like 5 different types of weapon that all operate differently, and it's seamless.
How cool is that plasma handgun though, with the sniper rifle red aim on it?
Yeah.
As a kid, I always wanted that gun, man. I was like, that's fucking badass, man.
Yeah, I've got my youngest has got a Nerf gun with a laser sight.
Oh, where can I buy it?
I am the cool dad. My children have Nerf guns with laser sights.
That is amazing. Margot's just starting to get into Nerf guns. We have like a couple of crappy cheap ones that you get, and I set up like targets in the garden for us to shoot and stuff. So I'm getting a bit concerned really, because I'm turning her into a very much a lad. And I have a son now, and I'm like, right, okay, maybe I need to rein this back a little bit before you become too much of a bloke and she starts filling in boys at school.
Well, again, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like
my
daughter wouldn't think
the worst.
Yeah, my daughter wouldn't think twice about decking a bloke if he was rude to her at school. And
no,
I'm
just
proud
getting to
of
the
that.
point now where I think she's going to be like Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween 2018.
Okay.
My dad's trained me for this moment. I'm like, no, we were just playing Nerf guns in the garden. Relax.
In the beginning of this movie, when the Terminator goes to kill the first Sarah Connor, he pulls up on her driveway and he crushes a semi-truck, little semi-truck. It's the same make, model, and color as the semi-truck that later crushes him.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't pick up on that at all, but I will watch this movie again and definitely look out for that.
So they put Carl Reese in a body bag. It's actually not a body bag. They didn't have the budget for a body bag at this point in the movie. So instead, it's one of James Cameron's suit bags that they wrapped him up in.
I couldn't tell any different, I'll be honest with you.
No. James Cameron had issues with budgets. He had a healthy budget for this, but he didn't have enough to do everything he wanted, didn't have enough to do all of the permits and stuff he wanted. So he resorted to what's known as guerrilla filmmaking, where what they would do is they'd decide where they wanted to shoot, how they wanted to shoot. They'd wait till an opportune time, rock up in mass, rapidly, film, and fuck off before the police arrived.
Ah, cool. Is that not what Danny Boyle did, or with the original like 28 Days Later, where they did the London thing? Or did he still have all the permits in place?
He still had all the permits, and he had road closed and things like that. James Cameron just rocked up on LA streets at 3 a.m. and started filming.
That's cool. I like that.
Even like the closing scenes of the movie, you know, where they do the bit where Sarah Connor's like, there's a storm coming, and she rips off that poor boy trying to send her a photo. She like barters
like
him
the Mexican
down.
desert thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That scene was all filmed with no permits, and a police officer arrived and asked for their permits, and they lied and convinced them that it was a student project, and the policeman let them finish filming.
That's really cool. Again, I just want to talk about that scene in particular because that's a really, really cool full circle moment where they introduced, because Kyle Reese, that's the photo that Kyle Reese has got.
Yeah.
And you see how that photo came about. She's got different haircut. It's very different. She's different looking, which I really liked. And then again, as I say, I watched Terminator 2 earlier on today, and John Connor's got that photo that she has at the end of that movie. And that's the only photo he has of his mother. And I think that's really cool because then you know that John Connor is the one that gives it to Kyle Reese in the future. Brilliant stuff, man. Brilliant stuff.
It's so neatly put together. Arnie wasn't going to play the Terminator. So Arnie had just come off the back of doing Conan the Barbarian, and he was trying to make himself an action hero. That's what he wanted to do. He was originally approached. No, he was approached to play Kyle Reese. And it was James Cameron who took him to dinner and sat down with him and said, look, I really want you to be the baddie. And Arnie's like, I don't want to be the baddie. Like, you're going to fuck my career. I want to be the hero. I want to be cast as the hero moving forward. And James Cameron convinced him by saying, I will make you the most iconic villain in cinema that everyone will want to work with you. And you're not going to even have to say a lot. And that's what sold him.
But wasn't Sylvester Stallone originally lined up to play this movie?
It was discussed, but it was never put in place. Originally,
you always see those movie posters of like the alternate reality, and I think which movie is it where they actually have the alternate reality and it's Sylvester Stallone on the
Last Action Hero?
Is it? Is that what they do it in the Last Action Hero?
Yeah,
that's so cool because these two were beefed for like the entirety of their career, haven't they? Battling for movies because it was always, is it going to be Arnie or is it going to be Sylvester? But it's the problem with Sylvester is he's too short.
Yeah, I'm not being funny. Both of these men are in their 70s and they still look incredible now.
Have you seen the images for the new Santa movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yes.
As like the Santa. I don't know what it's going to be about or anything. I know it's coming out next year, but he looks so cool as like a buff sort of middle-aged, well, not middle-aged, but a very later age Santa Claus.
Yeah, really cool. I like both of these actors. I don't think either of them are ever going to win an Oscar. Neither of them have got that depth of range.
That, but Sylvester Stallone wrote Rocky, and that movie won an Oscar. So technically, he is an Oscar holder.
Well,
he wrote and directed the first Rocky movie and won an Oscar for it.
He did. That's a fair point. When they filmed this, one afternoon, Arnie went for a stroll after filming, and it was when he was missing an eye. So they'd done the prosthetic, so he's got like a skeletal eye. Just went into a downtown LA cafe to get something to eat. Scared the shit out of all the workers.
Yeah, you can understand why. The practical effects are that good in this movie.
Yeah. We spoke about James Cameron being incredibly hard to work with. The crew on this made a joke of it. So they bought T-shirts for everybody that they'd wear on set when James Cameron was there. And these T-shirts said, "You can't scare me. I work for James Cameron."
Brilliant.
Absolutely fantastic. Mel Gibson turned down the role of the Terminator.
Fuck off. Mel
Honestly,
Gibson was offered this role with his mullet from Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, Mel Gibson turned it down, saying he didn't think he had the physicality for the role. And he was one of the first people to praise Arnold Schwarzenegger, saying he was the better choice for the movie.
Oh, 100%. I can't imagine anybody else in this role.
Definitely not Mel Gibson.
And the franchise knows it as well. The franchise knows it. Like, they've had so many sequels and so many iterations of this movie. And every single time, they always bring Arnie back, whether that's de-aging or CGI or whether he's an aged Terminator. They use him in every sequel because no matter what, he's an impossible character to replace in this franchise.
Yeah, he really is. Also, his eyebrows were impossible to replace. So when he knew that they were going to be shaved off for that scene. He went to Lloyd's of London and had his eyebrows insured in case they didn't grow back properly for $1 million.
So he'd have got a payout if they didn't grow back for £1 million.
Yeah.
Wow. Fucking hell,
Yeah.
man. Insurance is mental in America. The things you can insure and stuff like that. I don't think you can do that here in the UK, can you?
I don't think so. Only with very specialist lawyers. Like I know David Beckham insured his feet. Like
yeah, but again, that's like a worldwide sort of celebrity kind of thing, isn't it? But like the way that you hear about court cases in America, it's like, oh, I'm going to sue you for parking on my driveway and things like that, and you take them to court and sue them for loads of money. You can't do that in the UK. Like the legal system doesn't allow for petty arguments. But in America, you can sue anybody for anything. It's insane.
Yeah, exactly that. James Cameron has a cameo in this movie. Did you spot it?
No.
So he's heard several times. He's on Sarah Connor's answering machine twice as the Tiki Motel manager. And he's also heard speaking in the background multiple times when the Terminator calls.
Oh, no. I didn't ever pick up on that at all.
No. Well, that's
I don't even know what James Cameron sounds like. I don't think I've ever actually sat down and watched an interview with the guy.
You should watch him talk about, especially about this movie. He's got a lot of love for this. This is his favorite movie. Self-professed, this is his favorite movie that he's ever done. And when you hear him talk about it, and he talks about the through line plot and how he made everything sort of come full circle, and he created this. His words: he created a loop that the more you pick it apart, the more sense it makes.
Yeah, I've tried that though. I've tried that, and I just go around in circles, giving myself an aneurysm. I can't figure out. And then the sequel just amplified my confusion with it all. It's so difficult, and I think that there is some grounded evidence to support the theories that are represented in this movie. I just can't. Then you add things to it, and you're like, yeah, but if that happens, and how does that work when you come back? And I'm like, I don't know.
And that's the joy of it. Unlike a movie like Back to the Future, or
it's a very simplistic term in the way that works out. The explanation is there. You know what happens. You have the photograph. If people do this and change this, then they fade from existence. In this movie, it doesn't give you that sort of backstory. You just kind of have to accept that this is how it is, but you don't question it, because I'm not questioning it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I just can't fathom the cycle in my own brain, you know?
Yeah, and his mindset behind that was, how could you fathom time travel? I'm not going to make time travel really simple for you to go, oh, it's that, because it is complex and it will affect lots of, something that happens here affects something that happens in 30 years' time. And then if you fuck with that, like everything you had before is now different. So, and he really plays with that. And I like that.
I do. I think he does this is the perfect job of it. Although the Back to the Future movies are the epitome of what is perfect to dissect time travel in movies, this is the most elusive but concrete version of it in cinema. Like, it doesn't tell you too much for you to question it, but it doesn't give you enough that you can find holes in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really clever.
It's that perfect middle ground of, if we tell you too much, then that kind of brings into question how this works and how that works. But if we tell you too little, you know, it's perfect. It's perfect. And that's why every time I watch these movies in concession and watch them all one after the other, I'm like, yeah, and that works. And then I go back and question something, but I'm like, yeah, but that does work in context to the original. But how does that do this? And it's like, and I'm sure it's there, and I'm sure it's able to be found, but it's headache inducing, man. It really is.
It really is headache inducing. Today I have borrowed a game from about 2,500 other podcasts that play a variation of this game. I'll be honest, it's the end of the year. Game creation. I'm feeling game creation fatigue.
We're ready for a break, man. We need
it. Today we're going to play Name That Robot, which is as simple as it sounds. I'm going to show you a picture of a robot or robots, and you're going to tell me what movie or what TV show they're from. Really easy. We're going to start with we'll start really easy, and we'll work up to some harder ones. This one.
That is C-3PO and R2-D2 from the Star Wars phenomenon. Not a Star Wars fan, but again, iconic characters. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, and I think most of these you'll probably get, but there's a few in here that are a bit of a curveball for you. So how about this one?
I don't know the name of the robot, but that is a robot from the original Lost in Space TV series.
It is. I don't know the name of the robot either. All I know him is Danger, Will Robinson. Danger, danger.
Yeah. Did you watch the remake TV series that came on a few years ago?
I watched some of it. I'm not a big fan of Lost in Space.
I'm not. I never watched any of the original. I watched that movie with Matt LeBlanc. Terrible movie.
It wasn't good.
The new like remake TV series that came on Netflix, it was good because it condensed it. It was like, no, we're doing like 3 seasons. It's a start and an end story arc, and this is what we're giving you. They didn't drag it out. They didn't milk the cash cow. And it was so cool, man. It was such a complex story, condensed and from a start to finish point of view. I really, really liked it. And again, I'm not like a big sci-fi fan in terms of like your Star Trek and your Star Wars, but that was a really cool series. So if anyone hasn't seen it, go watch Lost in Space on Netflix. It's really good.
Yeah, or don't, because I watched it and didn't like
it. I mean, either way, yeah. It's not going to affect your life if you don't. But I enjoyed it.
How about this one?
Mr. RoboCop.
It is RoboCop. How about this one?
That is Mr. T-100. That is the original exoskeleton Arnie thing from
it is,
the Terminator
and
franchise.
That's a shot from Terminator 1. Look how good that looks.
That is fucking phenomenal, man. But again, like those headshot sections where it's like animatronics and people are there puppeteering it from the sidelines, so cool.
Yeah, really cool. They're going to start getting a little bit more obscure and a little bit harder now, but also well known. So we're in the stage of you either know it or you don't know it now.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Who's that?
I mean, his name's literally written across his chest. That is Wall-E from Pixar.
It is Wall-E.
I thought you said these were getting a bit more harder and complex. He's literally got his name across his stomach.
Maybe I should have started with Wall-E. I didn't spot he had his name there. How about this one?
Ooh, I don't know that. That's Haley Joel Osment. Great actor, child actor. He's cool as well these days in the Daredevil TV series, but I don't ever remember a film with an... Oh, is that the Steven Spielberg AI? Is it that movie?
It is, yeah. And
that is a cool fucking film, man. I haven't seen that since it came out in cinema.
It's a really cool film, and that teddy bear there has one of the best lines in all of cinema. And every time he says it, I fucking die laughing. There's a bit he's dropped out of like a makeshift hot air balloon. He falls about 12 feet and hits the ground. And because he has no emotion whatsoever, but he understands what's happening, he hits the ground and he goes, ow. And honestly, I die every time he does it.
Oh man, I haven't seen that film since it came out. Is that worth a watch? Because nobody ever like goes back and like, oh, do you remember AI with Steven Spielberg? That was a really cool film.
I love that, and I love the fact it's got a big crossover with the Star Wars universe as well, because the cloners in AI that clone his mum, so you can see his mum again, are the same cloners that make the clone army in the Star Wars universe.
He does that quite a lot, doesn't he, Spielberg, with some of his movies?
A deal with George Lucas. Every sci-fi movie either one of them has made has got a cameo from the other people's
find,
characters.
Like Yoda characters, or like what was the one where they had like all the alien species in like a Colosseum? And then there's like Star Wars things.
Star Wars, and you've got the family of ETs.
Yes, that's it. It's ET family in the Star Wars movie. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. How about this one?
Oh, dude, that movie is fucking incredible. It's Ex Machina, which has what's the dude's name? The ginger dude, the ginger Irish dude. I can't remember his name. Incredible actor. Donald Gleason's his dad. Really cool.
Yeah. That's also in one of the polls that we've got coming in January as well. Well, it's coming out. That poll will be out.
I can't remember the guy who directed that movie, but he's fucking amazing. He did Annihilation with yeah, really, really cool director, really cool story writer as well. I'd like to dissect that next year if that comes up.
You've got 3 left, and so far you're on a complete clean sweep. So this one I think is a given.
You sound surprised by that. I'm always crushing these quizzes. That's Megan. That's a good tie-in for my conversation that I wanted to have with you. Have you heard the news about Megan 2.0?
Yes.
They're going full Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and Megan is the good guy. Bum,
Yeah.
bum, bum. How cool is that? And what a tie into this episode as well. What a coincidence.
Yeah, and it also means that there's going to be a big bad that we haven't met yet, which I think is so cool.
So the word on the grapevine from this article I read was that at the end of Megan, she inserts herself into like the home Alexa stuff. And there's like this new AI version doll of the Megan thing, which comes to light. And then she talks to the existing family, because it's the existing family back again, through her AI system. It's like, look, you need to build me a shell. I can protect you, I can save you, but you need to build me a shell. So the Megan doll's actually going to be bigger in this movie. And again, that also ties into the actress growing, because it's the same actress from the first movie, which makes it more digestible. But I think that's a cool approach. My only concern about it is that they're going to come away from the horror elements of the Megan movie and go more into the action side of it and lean too heavily in that. Blumhouse has a really bad habit of following up with a successful sequel to their first movies, i.e. the Halloween franchise. I'm never going to get over that. Blumhouse needs to do something amazing to bring me back on board.
Let it go.
I can't let it go, dude. I can't. But yeah, like I think that's really cool that they're doing that, and that I don't know why. Yeah, just timed quite nicely with this episode.
Yeah, fancy that. Almost like I planned it. How about this one?
That is, I think it's Big. I think he's called Big. I might be wrong, but that's the inflatable AI robot from some movie. I've not seen the movie. I saw the trailer. The trailer was hilarious.
That film is one of my kids' favorite movies. I adore that film and that character. That's Baymax from Big Hero 6, and he is
Big Hero 6.
He's just awesome in every possible way. That character is brilliant.
Yeah, I don't think I'm worthy of a point for that answer of saying Big Hero 6 is a different thing, and that completely undermines what I said.
But still, 8 out of 10 so far. Here's your last one, and this is a real you know it or you don't.
Yes, this is from Real Steel.
It is. Can you remember the robot's name?
I can't. It's wild to think that there is an entire movie based around that toy figure where two robots just fucking rock and sock 'em robots.
Yeah, that movie's awesome as well.
Wolverine in it. It's the Wolverine movie, right? It's got Hugh Jackman in.
It has got Hugh Jackman in it.
Yeah.
That's Atom. Good. Really, it's Rocky with robots. So it's underdog robot that's normally just a shit sparring bot that for some reason that they don't explain. You just led to believe this robot has a soul, and it has the undying will to survive even though it's a robot. So it gets the shit kicked out of it every single time and just keeps getting up. It's really cool. It's Rocky but with robots.
See, I don't watch movies like that. I don't watch like kids movies, but now I have kids. I'm like counting down the days. Like for me, Margot's 4 now, so she's, I think maybe next year or maybe the year after, we're doing Jurassic Park, and my life's going to change forever as soon as I can do Jurassic Park with her, because that shit is terrifying. But if she can make it through Jurassic Park, she has a fucking world of awesome movies that I'm going to introduce her to. But yeah, we're just not there yet. We're not ready for that. Because it's Christmas or Christmas season just gone, we're on Netflix quite a lot. And we're trying to find cool movies to watch for like our lazy days and stuff. And the Grinch advert pops up all the time, and that shit just fucking terrifies her. She's like, "Turn it off, Daddy. I don't like it. It's scary." I'm like, "Yeah, you are not ready for Jurassic Park yet, kid."
No, this year my plan is over Christmas. Jack's going to meet the Star Wars franchise for the first time properly. Cool. He's seen bits and he knows bits.
Where will you start with that? I'm curious, because I'm as much as I don't like them, I have seen them, and I know.
I'll start where I
go. Episode 1.
No, because if I do that, all of the reveal of he's my father, all that shit's gone if you do that. So you do episode 4, 5, 6, then do 1, 2, 3, then do 7, 8, 9.
Does 1, 2, 3 explain that he is Luke's father? Because Luke's not even a thing in the prequels.
Yeah,
you don't find out that Anakin's the Darth Vader until
in the third movie, in episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, you find out Anakin becomes Darth Vader. which then completely ruins Darth Vader being Luke's dad.
Oh yeah, because they've got the same last name.
Yeah,
Of course.
exactly that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's our game. You done really well. 8 out of 10. Ended the year on a high. That's about it. Apart from roundups, would you like to take this first?
Yeah, I mean, I know I go on and it's a thing. I'm not going to do that. You put the wrong cue card up. Ha ha ha.
No, I didn't. That's the one I wanted to put up.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought you was doing the please be patient one. I was waiting for it. And that's why I left like a thing before I got on a roll. I was like, he's going to put a fucking stupid thing up and I'm going to have to make a point of it. And then I'm going to lose my flow.
No, which is why I didn't
look at the screen for the next 5 seconds. No, I love this movie. I don't think there's really a lot you can criticize about it. I know we've nitpicked a few things as we've gone on, but Heather, just so you're aware, that's what we have to do. That's our job. It's a podcast. We're dissecting a movie. We have to pull up the negatives. Doesn't mean I hate the movie. Just means it's a thing we needed to talk about. I thought this movie was fantastic. I think it held up incredibly well, and it spawned a franchise that's been very dear to my heart. I grew up watching Arnie movies. Like, he was my thing growing up. You know, Commando, Last Action Hero, even fucking the one where he plays that stupid superhero at Christmas. Like, End of Days as well. End of Days is fucking The Eraser, man. I love Arnie. This dude is my childhood. You know, my dad was a big Arnie fan, so we had a lot of Arnie tapes in our house. The love for Arnie then spawned my love for Sylvester Stallone, which then introduced me to the Rocky franchise. You know, these actors were all the rage back in the day. You couldn't get away from either seeing Sylvester Stallone or seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger on your TV growing up, especially if you had a dad at home. Your dad would have been all over these actors.
Yeah.
And I think this movie in particular, I don't think it's Arnie's best role. That goes to Terminator 2. What he does in Terminator 2 is fucking phenomenal, but without this first movie, we would not have had Terminator 2. So I think this movie deserves the recognition for spawning one of the... I've said it on this podcast for years. Every time we like, oh yeah, the best movie of all time, I say T2 every single time we talk about it. I'm always like, yeah, T2. T2 is the best film of all time. And I think it is. I genuinely think Terminator 2 is one of the greatest movies of all time. And I think it gets underlooked massively because it's considered an action movie. But I think the story... Do you know what? No. I'm rounding up Terminator 1. I'll save that for another day.
Don't do it. Don't do it now.
I realized what I was doing. I was like, don't waste your best material.
Daddy,
we'll do
chill.
T2 at some point. No, I love this. I think the practical effects are incredibly held up. I think that I know we spoke a little bit about the stop motion, but I think they still hold up very well today. I have my issues with Arnie's eyebrows. I think that was a poor decision from James Cameron's point of view. But his direction in this movie is incredible. I like how... I spoke about this more because of my love for the original Halloween movie. I like Dean Koondi's cinematography angle where he implements the use of blue in the night. So the night is black. The night is black. In most films, the night is black. There's a big thing when we was in the late 90s, early 80s, where horror movies in particular used to signify night as blue. Terminator does it better than anything. The entire Terminator franchise, when you go back and you see the flashback sequences with the Skynet battle, the set design on that is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
With the skulls and all the animatronic robots and stuff, it's fucking phenomenal. But the signified piercing blue screen signifying night is just something that I'm so enamored with. I love it. I think it's so incredibly well done. And it's this very fanciful Hollywood way of signifying night that I just kind of fall in love with. And I think that comes back to my love for the original Halloween movie. That scene where he kills Bob and stabs him against the door and you get the backlight coming in and it's
blue.
all blue. It's just so cool. And when I see it implemented in other movies, it just brings joy to my soul. And this movie just does it throughout. It really does. So I love that. I think visually it's a fantastic movie to watch. I think the cast is incredible. I'm not a massive fan of Linda Blair. And even when I was watching T2
Good, because
today,
Linda Blair's not in this.
No, sorry, Linda Hamilton. I'm not a massive fan of her. And I think she does better in this movie than she does in T2, which is weird because I like T2 better. But I think her acting is better in the first movie than the second. I don't think she portrays the whole heroism thing very well in the sequel. Again, story for another day. I think she does a great job here. I think Michael Biehn is fucking phenomenal. I love this actor, and I don't get it. I don't get why this guy's career didn't take off. He's in like some of the best movies of all times from the early 90s, Terminator, Alien 2. Like, he was the action hero. And then just nothing apart from like a few fucking lazy ass TV shows that we see him in occasionally nowadays. I'm like, dude, man, you could have been it. You had the potential to be the it guy of Hollywood back in the 90s, and I just don't understand why his career never took off. He's great in this movie. I love it. I love it. Best score of all time. The Terminator movie, if you hear that, boom, 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 it's almost as iconic as a Jaws theme. You know, I think it's great. Nothing but love for Terminator. It's a 5 out of 5. I think the second one's better, but I also think that's a 5 out of 5 as well. 2 5 out of 5 movies, even though we're only reviewing the first one. I feel like you have to pair them up together a little bit. They're so in sync with each other with the original story that it's hard not to talk about Terminator 1 with including some stuff about Terminator 2. They're so in sync. It's almost like they're the same movie. And I often watch them in the same context. I watched Terminator 1. I watched Terminator 1 in preparation for this review, and I immediately started Terminator 2. And I do that when I watch Halloween. I watch the first Halloween, and I can't help but go into Halloween 2. It's in the same sort of category.
Yeah. Whereas I watch Halloween, then watch Halloween 3, and then I'm done.
Because you're a fucking psychopath.
I'm not going to lie. When this got voted on the show, I love this movie. But it was a movie that I was like, oh, it's so old now. Like, and I went in going, am I going to like this, or am I going to be the guy that sits here and picks holes in Terminator? And I sat down, and I'd had a really shit week at work. We spoke about this off air. Like, my week at work was awful. And I sat down to watch this, and I was in a foul ass mood. And it started. And as soon as I saw the tracks roll over the skulls at the beginning, I was like, this is dated quite well. And then when Arnie arrives, I was like, oh my God, 4K Arnie penis. And like from that moment on, it kind of broke my bad mood with just the opening moments. And then from then, I was so fully invested in this, and I was paying so much attention to how much detail they'd put in and how much detail they'd put into the decisions the characters make, from when Carl Reese is being chased and he needs to conceal the gun, so he cuts the end off it so it hides better in his jacket, through to Sarah Connor being followed by a guy, and she does the right thing. She goes into a place that's full of people. The fact she calls the police, like all of these great decisions, I'm like, this is really good writing. And the whole movie is so well put together, and it's so tense. The moments when you realize like you're fucking in trouble, like big trouble, like when he turns up in Tech Noir, like when she ducks down because she knocked a bottle off the side, like I felt genuine relief for her. I was like, oh, you've bought yourself a second, because if he had seen her then, she'd be dead. The movie would be over.
Instantly. Yeah.
I have got nothing but praise for how good a job James Cameron done with this, and against a crew that particularly hated him. Even though they didn't all get on, they crafted something that will stand the test of time. This will be in 20 years' time. We'll be talking about this the same as people talk about Psycho now. This will be...
I mean, what are we now? We're like 35 years down the line and we're still glorifying this movie.
Yeah, it's not dated at all, apart from that stop motion. Everything else in this, cut that one scene of stop motion out of this movie.
And maybe Linda Hamilton's haircut.
I like the mullet, like the all the fashion in this. Like this whole movie is like a vibe. I remember in the early 80s, like I remember like mums at school like turning up with that haircut. They wore the same shit that people wear in this movie. It's very authentic.
Do you know what? I watched Terminator. I know I said it already. I watched Terminator 2 earlier. Do you know the flashback scene where she's at the gate and she like gets fried by the nuclear bomb?
Yeah.
She envisions herself playing with baby John on the playground. She has a Terminator 1 mullet in the flashback scene. I was like, you didn't need to do it, but the fact that you did makes me very impressed.
The attention to details ridiculous. It's so well cast. No one else could play Terminator and make it as believable as Arnie did. The soundtrack's awesome. In my opinion, this is where James Cameron peaked. He peaked here. He peaked right at the beginning. Aliens is on a par with this. Everything else after that
he peaked at T2. He peaked at T2.
Yeah, I think everything. I think T2 and I think this and Aliens all sit on that level par of 5 out of 5. There's not really much I can pick apart in this movie. And then after that, he went on a weird kind of tangent. He went and done Titanic, and then he went and done, which again, a great movie. Avatar movies are great movies, but he's kind of gone away from the niche I like. And I'd like him to come back because I think he could tell some incredible stories within horror still. This is a 5 out of 5. There's nothing else that can be said about it. It's perfect. It's a perfect movie.
Definitely. And one thing I would like to request, even though I can, we get a lot of polls throughout the year, but often when people call in and request movies, we're obligated to do listener requests. Please, will somebody call in and request T2 so we don't have to go through the rigmarole throughout the year trying to incorporate Terminator 2 into a poll that's justifiable for it to be there. Someone just ring in and say, do Terminator 2, explain why you want us to do Terminator 2, and it will happen at some point next year.
Yeah, do that. It won't happen early next year. We won't do T1 and T2 close together.
No, we've got a lot of shit to do next year. We make it a thing. If someone requests it, we'll maybe save it and do it for our New Year's episode next year.
Yeah, which leads us nicely into next year. So next year, every month is a themed month, and we're kicking off January with Art House Horror, which most people know as Elevated Horror. We're kicking off with a listener request, and we've got a poll, we've got a new release, we've got a guest on. We've got loads of stuff coming in January. We've got a couple of tweaks to the show as well, which you'll hear in the new year. Before we go, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who listens to this show, everyone who interacts.
Before you do your thank yous and goodbyes, one thing that I have noticed you've done this week on social media is me and you have made a decision going forward that the polls that are coming out next year, we do 8 movies per poll. You pick 4, I pick 4. Usually you just sort of like, right, we're going to do this, and then you pick the movies, and that's what kind of happens. We've decided that we're going to split the polls, and you're going to pick 4 movies. I'm going to pick 4 movies for every poll going forward. I didn't know this was going to be a thing, but you kind of made it a thing now, and you put 1-0 to me for next week because my movie won the poll. Are we going to have a tally throughout the year, and we're going to see who's the winner at the end of the year?
We're going to have a tally throughout the year, which will be on our stories on Instagram every single week. We're also going to have a tally for where the movies rank throughout the year as to what hits top. We're also going to have a rank for all of the guests playing Broken Spirit 2.0 and where they rank throughout the year. So we've got a lot of new stuff coming next year.
That just kind of encourages me to be better at picking the movies for next year. That's all, because I'm going to want to win and already have a good start. So
if you could fill in the rest of that massively long sheet with 52 weeks on it with the rest of the movies.
It's been a busy run up to the end of the year. I've got a couple of weeks off now, so I plan on concentrating a lot of my efforts into filling out the rest. I was like, I did the first month. I was like, that'll keep him good for a couple of weeks. But I do plan on filling in the rest in the next coming weeks, I promise.
Again, thank you to everyone who listens. Like, you make this so much more than me and Mark just having a chat. Like, your interaction, like the calls in we get, the messages, like everything you do makes this so rewarding for me and for Mark. Because when we drop an episode, you don't just message me and go, "Oh, great episode," and you don't just share the story and tag me. You message Mark and you all talk to Mark as well, and it means a lot. It really does. And this year we've grown so much, and we've picked up so many new listeners and so many new people that reach out to me. It's wonderful, and I can't thank you enough for such a great year. Next year is going to be better. It's going to be bigger. We've got some wild ass movies next year as well in the polls. Wild ass movies and some wild ass new releases as well.
I was just about to say, there's some crazy movies coming out next year. That there's been a lot of new releases this year that have kind of come and gone and have we've had that anticipation of, is it going to be episode worthy? Do we book it in and be like, oh yeah, because we don't know a lot about them. But next year is a year of sequels. There is no escaping what we're going to do. I mean, we've got an I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel. We've got a Megan sequel. There is just so much coming out that we're
Five Nights at Freddy's
to do. Five Nights at Freddy's. There's things that are going to be there that we're going to be obligated to do regardless of us wanting to. I mean, there's been stuff that's come out this year that's really cool, and in hindsight, we should have thrown into maybe the polls and we should have maybe thrown into the episodes. But when you see a movie pop up from A24 called Log Legs or whatever else, you don't kind of know the impact it's going to have, or Subservience with the Demi Moore thing. That would have made a cool episode. We maybe should have talked about it, and it'll probably be in a poll next year.
100% it is in a poll next year.
Yeah. But I think with the stuff that's been announced next year, there's going to be no avoiding it. So when the new I Know What You Did Last Summer movie comes out, we will be reviewing it upon release. It will be on our schedule because next year is the year of sequels. And hopefully we get some more insight on Scream 7 going forward, because I know we've got our beef with Spyglass.
Yeah.
The more news that comes out, the more my curiosity is rising, and I think we're going to have to discuss where we lie with that film going forward.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that's 2027. That's a whole year and a bit away.
I thought that was this year. Oh, no, they're starting filming this year, aren't they?
Yeah, I know it's 26. It's 26 or 27. It's ages away. We'll worry about that further down the road. Anyway, a huge thank you again. We'll catch you next week. We are back with a brand new year, a brand new episode, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. Very homoerotic next week. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. And thank you all for the support throughout the year. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all the best, folks.
Yeah, see you later.
You want to die tonight?
Jokes you tell sets the scene. I hang on every word lost in the screen. Your passion for fear is contagious enough. You make me believe in Marc's overblown roundups. You run podcasts or a movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled. You run podcasts, horror movie review, unveiling facts and playing games too. Your words paint pictures of darkness and dread, leaving me grinning long after I fled. Thank you for taking us on this chilling ride, when nightmares roll free and comedy collide. With your podcast we laugh and cringe, but your content is so good we can't help but binge. You run podcasts.
Oh, you're gonna get a bit hot tour and spit on that thing. You get me?